What's up, friends? Mike here from Mercado Airwaves. If you missed any one of our past interviews with amazing guests like future Hall of Famer and pound for pound best fighter in the world, UFC flyweight champion Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson,
another day at the office, I get to go out there and test my skill.
to award-winning producer, director, and actor Orlando Jones,
Orlando, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, sir. I'm good, brother. How you doing?
and all the other interesting guests we've had on. Joining us today is director and writer David Ferrier.
Thanks so much, brother. I appreciate you having me on the show.
MMA legend Chael Sonnen joins us today.
Keep listening to your show. This is great. Thanks, my friend.
Just subscribe to us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. And while you're there, please like, review, and rate us, friends. It helps so much. We also have a Patreon for anyone who would like to support the show. Just visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves and see how you can get all of our interviews ad-free and before anyone else, and how you can get your business or company spotlighted on the show. Follow us on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. And if you would like to see what we're up to behind the scenes, follow us on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Thanks for listening and all the support.
If you would like to support Mercado Airwaves, visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Find us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. Keep up to date with the show on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. You can see all of Nicole's work at typingwhentipsy.wordpress.com. You can follow Alex on Twitter at Mercado21Alex. Follow Mike on Twitter at mmercado2333 and on Instagram, MikeMercado2333.
What is going on, friends? Welcome into this episode of Sports from the Couch on Mercado Airwaves. I'm your host, Mike Mercado, and I want to thank you so much for making us a part of your day. On today's episode, we break down everything that was Week 14 in the NFL. We preview Week 15. We break down the huge Bears victory over the LA Rams. We try to make sense out of the craziness that is going on around the Chicago Bulls. Things are heating up at the winter meetings for the White Sox and the Cubs. A UFC pay-per-view. It's Packers week. And also news and notes from around the sports world. All that and much more here on Sports from the Couch on Mercado Airways. But before we get into all that, you can follow us all over the universe. I'm on Twitter at mmercado2333. Follow Network on Twitter at Mercado Airwaves. I'm on Instagram, instagram.com/MikeMercado2333. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333, or look up Mercado Airwaves Network. We're on Twitch, twitch.tv/Mercado Airwaves Network. Download us anywhere you get your favorite podcasts. Like, rate, review, and share us. iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Podbean, at Mercado Airwaves. Check out our interviews ad-free before anybody else at Patreon, patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. And of course, a huge thank you to Munch Art Design for powering us here on the Mercado Airwaves Network. It's time to talk sports next on Sports from the Couch on the Mercado Airwaves Network. I'm Mike Mercado.
If you would like to support Mercado Airwaves, visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Find us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. Keep up to date with the show on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. You can see all of Nicole's work at typingwhentipsy.wordpress.com. You can follow Alex on Twitter at Mercado21Alex. Follow Mike on Twitter at mmercado2333 and on Instagram, MikeMercado2333.
What's up, friends? Mike here from Mercado Airwaves. If you missed any one of our past interviews with amazing guests like future Hall of Famer and pound for pound best fighter in the world, UFC flyweight champion Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson,
Another day at the office, I get to go out there and test my skill.
to award-winning producer, director, and actor Orlando Jones,
Orlando, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, sir. I'm good, brother. How you doing?
and all the other interesting guests we've had on. Joining us today is director and writer David Ferrier.
Thanks so much, brother. I appreciate you having me on the show.
MMA legend Chael Sonnen joins us today.
Keep listening to your show. This is great. Thanks, my friend.
Just subscribe to us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. And while you're there, please like, review, and rate us, friends. It helps so much. We also have a Patreon for anyone who would like to support the show. Just visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves and see how you can get all of our interviews ad-free and before anyone else, and how you can get your business or company spotlighted on the show. Follow us on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. And if you would like to see what we're up to behind the scenes, follow us on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Thanks for listening and all the support. So the Chicago Bears had their biggest win in arguably 8 years, beating the LA Rams 15-6 on Sunday Night Football. on national television, showing the entire world, introducing them to this awesome defense. And, there's a lot of things that we got to get into about this game. So why don't we get into it? First of all, I hope you guys each enjoyed it. Let us know anywhere on social media what you guys thought of the game. I'm on Twitter at mmercado2333, on Instagram, Mike Mercado2333, and of course, give us a like on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. So there's a few things we have to get into, obviously. First of all, the dominant showing of this Bears defense, and it was really interesting to see how it all kind of played out. If you joined us here on our Facebook live chat on Saturday night, one of the things that I mentioned was in order for the Bears to win this game, they were going to have to do X amount of things. And they ended up doing them, and that's how they got the W. And one of the biggest ones, of course, was this Bears defense just absolutely shaking Jared Goff to the core. It was really a jaw-dropping to see how flustered they made him. Just looking at the stat sheet, you had Akeem Hicks with a sack, Khalil Mack with the sack, Prince Amukamara with an interception, Roquan Smith with an interception, Kyle Fuller with an interception, Eddie Jackson with an interception. I mean, to the most high-powered offense right there with Kansas City and New Orleans, and they shut them down 6 points, no problem. And it looked like Jared Goff wanted no part of that game. Whether it was the cold, whether it was the way what the defense was throwing at him, what Vic Fangio may have game plan towards Jared Goff, there was a weird body language. And I'm not even one of these body language dudes because I give people a hard time when they used to say this about Jay Cutler, but there was so much he looked so uncomfortable up there. And there was one play where they called a timeout and he put a jacket on with, a 30-second timeout. And it wasn't even that bad. I live here. We live here in the state, in Chicago, and it was 27 degrees last night. It was cold, but, I've been to Bears games in November that are, 11 degrees, snowing and freezing temperatures, and you get hypothermia. That was an easy Sunday night game, and not just an easy Sunday night game, but an easy Sunday night game in December, all things being equal here in Chicago. So kudos to that defense for what they did against Jared Goff. Absolutely shutting down that offense. And when it came down to the Bears having a dominant defense, they were going to have to turn over the ball. It was one of the keys I said. I thought the only way they were really going to be able to win this game was by scoring at least one defensive touchdown. And they didn't do that. Taking over the ball 4 different times helped, but it was one of those things where you knew they had to take the ball away. They just couldn't let LA get too many cracks at it. And with that, man, the Bears had 36 minutes of ball possession. And the Bears defense did exactly what they had to when it came to when the Rams were on the field. We mentioned it earlier that Jared Goff looked shook. 20 for 44, 180 yards, 4 interceptions. This was a guy people were touting as an MVP candidate. Shut him down. How about the guy that looked like the favorite for the MVP? Right there with Patrick Mahomes. Todd Gurley, 11 carries, 28 yards. This was a man that was killing the league. And the Bears shut them down. Robert Woods, 7 receptions, 61 yards. That was it. Everything else, Josh Reynolds, only 3 catches, 36. Todd Gurley with 3 catches, 30 yards. Gerald Everett, 4 catches for 29 yards. Brandon Cooks, 3 catches, 22 yards. Tyler Higbee, only 1 catch. Bears defense shut them down. And just because I understand we're Chicago, we love the defense, monsters of the Midway, it's all grand and dandy, but here's a simple fact of it too. Mitch Trubisky sucked last night on Sunday Night Football. Plain and simple. Mitch Trubisky was a detriment to that team, but they did something that I don't think any of us thought they were going to do in this scenario. And they ran the ball. And they ran the ball a lot. And it was part of that game plan that we mentioned on the live stream. You got to keep the ball away from them. And with the 36 minutes of time possession, you get that with a 19 carry, 101 yard day by Jordan Howard. Tariq Cohen, 9 carries, 69 yards. Mind you, this is coming in a game where Mitch Trubisky goes 16 for 30, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. Trubisky had a horrible game. And there were some plays that were flat out embarrassing for a pro quarterback to make. And that's the thing, right? It's like if you're watching these NFL quarterbacks, it's one thing when you miss somebody. but you missed in a place that only the receiver had a chance at the ball. On Sunday Night Football, Trubisky was throwing it high, long, far, right into the defenders of the LA Rams. And that's the one thing in the NFL you can't do. You can't sail the balls. They'll eat you alive. And that's what they did to Trubisky. Now, Collinsworth was saying on the broadcast that it was the weather this and the weather that. Again, I'm not even a big believer in Chicago weather, but Trubisky's case, I think it was definitely the injury. And it's part of the thing we've always talked about. He's not an accurate quarterback. He's an athletic quarterback. There were so many plays where the pressure, he felt it coming in and he was able to make a play. That's the big difference between him and Chase Daniel. We mentioned it those 2 weeks that Trubisky was out with injury. Chase Daniel is a fine NFL backup quarterback, but he lacks some of the things that Trubisky brings, including that athleticism. And you're seeing it with guys like Josh Allen in Buffalo and Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. Mobile quarterbacks help save and win games in the NFL. And that's what you're seeing with Trubisky. But there's no doubt that his accuracy is a hindrance to this team. But with that being said, they have playmakers. Allen Robinson, Tariq Cohen, Taylor Gabriel. Anthony Miller didn't have much with only one target. But again, it was in a net passing game. But speaking of passing game, we have to talk about Santa Slay, the touchdown, the only touchdown of the game with the Rams and the Bears. As Bradley Swope, good old number 79, catches a 2-yard touchdown for the Bears' only touchdown of the game and would end up being the game winner. And it's an interesting play. This is one thing you got to give Matt Nagy is the man has cojones, plain and simple. I mean, how are you going to put 4 defensive linemen and 1 offensive lineman out there on the goal line, biggest play of the game, and do that? And we're seeing it the week before with the Tariq Cohen touchdown against the Giants. They do not care. It doesn't matter whether they're in the 1-yard line, the 10-yard line. They are unpredictable, and in such a good way. It is so much fun to see what Matt Nagy does with this Bears offense. And of course, it's always great when a fat guy scores. We saw with Akeem Hicks last week. It's this mindset that Bears fans haven't had, that we haven't seen and implemented in so long. It's something Bears fans haven't seen with the regimes that we saw with Mark Trestman and John Fox and Lovie Smith. It's that rare in this city that we've been able to be treated to that type of innovation. And the fact that the Bears are winning games off of it, and it's working. That's something I don't think you should take for granted, and it's something you should enjoy. Totally entertainment purposes, the fact is, the Bears look like they're finally ahead of the curve, or at the very least, maintaining, keeping up with the rest of the league. And that's something that you can't take for granted. You just can't. And then keeping on the offensive side of the ball, the Bears, the biggest scare for a lot of Bears fans and a lot of pundits and a lot of experts was this high-powered LA Rams offense and that top-tier Rams defense. But it's like we mentioned a few weeks ago. The Rams have stars in that defense, but their secondary was banged up. They were giving up a lot of points leading into this Bears game. And it's not just that. This offensive line played great. Aaron Donald, arguably right there with Khalil Mack, J.J. Watt as the best defensive players in the league. Von Miller, if you want to throw him in there, non-factor. And Ndamukong Suh, non-factor. That secondary did work, but a lot of that was Trubisky giving them, presents. Early Christmas presents and interceptions right there in their hands. Great stuff on that offense. I mean, of course, there's a lot of things you can always talk about. If you want to be on the cynical side of it, I get it. Biggest play of the game, and you're relying on an offensive lineman and defensive players to score the ball, opposed to professional athletes that get paid to catch the ball and block for the ball. I get that being a little weird, but that's the NFL today. Watch the Kansas City Chiefs. Watch the LA Rams. Not this week, but watch them any other week. Watch the New Orleans Saints. You got to be creative. And here's the thing. It makes practice fun for these guys. And we forget, as fans and people in the media, we forget that this is a job for them. So there is a weird monotony that comes into the same thing over and over again. But when you walk into a business and you're successful and your upper management makes things interesting, you're going to be more energized. You're going to do things a little bit better. It's human nature. And you see it in the NFL all the time. That's why it's such a quick turnaround, because you're able to install these type of mentalities. You're able to bring in the talent. And it brings up one interesting point that I think a lot of people kind of face now. Are the Bears really Super Bowl contenders? It feels like we've asked this question every single week. And this is a 9-4 team now. The simple answer is yes. On any given Sunday, these Chicago Bears can beat anybody. At their very best, the Bears can win the Super Bowl. At their very mediocre, at their very average, they can lose to anybody in the playoffs, let alone anybody in the NFL. You've seen it against Miami, against Green Bay, against the Patriots, against the Giants. They can do that. But just as easily, they can win. They have a Hall of Fame, once-in-a-generation defensive player in Khalil Mack. They have some of the best supporting players to that Hall of Famer that are all pros, Pro Bowlers. They have offensive talent and offensive innovation with Matt Nagy and some of the weapons they brought in, like Allen Robinson, like they drafted with Tariq Cohen, like they have with Taylor Gabriel, like they have with Trey Burton when they implement him in the game plan. There's a lot of things going for this team. Now, the question is, where is the journey and where does it go through to get to the Super Bowl? Unfortunately for the Bears, I think you can't go backwards, right? And you can't look back at that Giants game and be like, you needed that game. We mentioned it then. Like, a lot of people were more worried about the week after with Minnesota and so on and so forth. But the fact remains, that Giants game was huge looking back at it. You could have been 10-3, looking at a chance for a first-round bye and home field advantage. But now chances are you're going to play a Seattle, a Carolina, or even in Minnesota in the first weekend of the NFL playoffs. And then you're going to have to go to LA or New Orleans. And then you're going to have to go to LA or New Orleans to get to the Super Bowl. But here's the thing, too. Defense travels. Now, this Bears team is a totally different team at home. They're a special team at home. But why not, right? And the NFL, it always is one of those things. There's always one team in the playoffs that kind of has their back against the wall, and they have to make a run. And they don't get to do it in front of their home stadium. And if there's any team with the amount of talent and the potential that can do that, it's a team like the Chicago Bears. Now, it's an interesting matchup that they have coming up with the Green Bay Packers. They can clinch the division, and they can eliminate for good their divisional rivals, but you almost wish you weren't in that position. I know a lot of fans are looking forward to that. They're looking for that opportunity to see their favorite team get a little bit of revenge on this same team that broke their hearts week 1 of the NFL season. But it would have been nice to not have to have worried about it and to have it all clinched up a few days ago after that huge win against the Rams. But nonetheless, they have a chance to do something they haven't done in a long time, and that's guaranteeing themselves a playoff spot in the NFL playoffs and a chance at the Super Bowl. Let us know, what did you think about this huge Bears win against the LA Rams? Do you think now they are officially Super Bowl contenders? Do you think this was just a fluke win, or was this just more to come on this Bears season? Let us know all over social media. I'm on Twitter at mmercado2333. You can follow us on the network at Mercado Airwaves. And of course, give us a like on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Follow me on Instagram, instagram.com/Mike Mercado. 2333. Like, rate, review, and share us anywhere you get your favorite podcasts at Mercado Airwaves. Play video games with us at Twitch, twitch.tv/Mercado Airwaves Network. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/Mike Mercado 2333. And a huge shout out to Munch Art Design for powering us here on the network. We got more here on Sports from the Couch on the Mercado Airwaves Network. I'm Mike Mercado.
What's up, friends? Mike here from Mercado Airwaves. If you missed any one of our past interviews with amazing guests like future Hall of Famer and pound for pound best fighter in the world, UFC flyweight champion Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson,
It's another day at the operator to go out there and test my skill.
to award-winning producer, director, and actor Orlando Jones,
Orlando, how you doing,
Hey,
buddy?
sir. I'm good, brother. How you doing?
and all the other interesting guests we've had on. Joining us today is director and writer David Ferrier.
Thanks so much, brother. I appreciate you having me on the show.
MMA legend Chael Sonnen joins us today.
Keep listening to your show. This is great. Thanks, my friend.
Just subscribe to us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. And while you're there, please like, review, and rate us, friends. It helps so much. We also have a Patreon for anyone who would like to support the show. Just visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves and see how you can get all of our interviews ad-free and before anyone else, and how you can get your business or company spotlighted on the show. Follow us on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. And if you would like to see what we're up to behind the scenes, follow us on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Thanks for listening and all the support.
If you would like to support Mercado Airwaves, visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Find us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. Keep up to date with the show on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. You can see all of Nicole's work at typingwhentipsy.wordpress.com. You can follow Alex on Twitter at Mercado21Alex. Follow Mike on Twitter at mmercado2333 and on Instagram, MikeMercado2333.
Week 14 is in the books in the NFL, and we are one step closer to the playoffs. Why don't we take a quick look at the scoreboard that was this weekend in the National Football League? We were kicked off on Thursday Night Football as the Titans beat the Jaguars 30-9. Then on Sunday, it was the Browns over the Panthers 26-20. The Ravens fall to the Chiefs 27-24. Patrick Mahomes with an absolute insane play at the end of the game to get into overtime and led his Chiefs to another victory. The Colts beat the Texans 24-21, ending the Texans' win streak. The Dolphins beat the Patriots in the play of the year, the Miami Miracle, and a last-second Hail Mary that turned into a Statue of Liberty / trickery, and it was pretty insane to see the Dolphins come back and win in their home stadium against the mighty Patriots. It was the Giants beating Washington 40-16. The Saints came back and beat the Buccaneers 28-14. The Packers all over the Falcons 34-20. It was the Jets 27, Bills 23. The Chargers beat the Bengals 26-21 without Melvin Gordon. San Francisco upsets the Denver Broncos 20-14, all but ending the Denver Broncos playoff hopes. It was the Cowboys 29, the Eagles 23, and another team in the Philadelphia Eagles looking like they might not make it to the postseason after a Super Bowl campaign last year. In another huge upset this past weekend, the Raiders beat the Steelers 24-21. It was the Lions 17, the Cardinals 3. And on Sunday Night Football, it was a matchup between two of the league's best. As the LA Rams visit the Chicago Bears at Soldier Field, the Bears shut down the LA Rams, beating one of the top teams in the NFC 15-6, placing themselves as one of the teams that might contend for a Super Bowl. And on Monday Night Football, the Seattle Seahawks beat the Minnesota Vikings 21-7. Another disappointing game by Kirk Cousins in prime time, and Seattle looking like a team you might not want to play in the first round in the playoffs. For a lot of teams in Week 14, it was the end of playoff hopes, but Week 15 is an opportunity for different teams to not only clinch divisions, clinch home field advantage, but keep their playoff hopes alive. Why don't we take a look at what we have coming up this week, and it starts off with one of the matchups of the year, an AFC West showdown between the LA Chargers and the Kansas City Chiefs on Thursday Night Football. Then on Saturday, it is the Texans versus the Jets and the Cleveland Browns versus the Denver Broncos. Then Sunday, it is the Arizona Cardinals going to the Atlanta Falcons. The Oakland Raiders visit the Cincinnati Bengals. It is the Miami Dolphins versus the Minnesota Vikings. It is Cowboys versus Colts, Buccaneers and the Ravens. The Lions take on the Bills. In an NFC North divisional rival matchup, it is the Green Bay Packers versus the Chicago Bears. If the Bears win, they are the NFC North champions. It is Washington versus Jacksonville. Washington now going on their fourth quarterback. Jacksonville trying to get something going for the next season. It is Titans and Giants. Then in the late afternoon games, it is Seattle visiting the San Francisco 49ers. In a huge matchup in the AFC, it is the Patriots visiting the Pittsburgh Steelers. And on Sunday Night Football, it is the Philadelphia Eagles versus the LA Rams. And Week 15 ends with the New Orleans Saints taking on the Carolina Panthers. Some interesting things going on here in the NFL for Week 15. You take a look at that Philadelphia Eagles versus LA Rams matchup. This is a chance for the Rams to get back on track, going to Chicago this past weekend in freezing temperature, and now being able to go back to their home stadium in warm LA weather. And there's nothing better than playing that Philadelphia defense right now to get things right. New Orleans, Carolina to end the week. This is another interesting one. With the Rams losing and the Saints winning against Tampa Bay, this puts the Saints in a chance to clinch home field advantage, or at least put themselves one step closer to clinching home field advantage throughout the rest of the playoffs in the NFC. Of course, you have so much history between the Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears. An interesting matchup. The Green Bay Packers, without Mike McCarthy, put up a lot of points this past weekend. They got a running game going. It looks like Aaron Rodgers is trying to get some communication and chemistry with his wide receivers. This is not a sleeper game. There was a big, huge emotional game this past Sunday night against the Rams. The Bears cannot afford to sleep on this Green Bay Packers team. And while, yes, there is a chance if the Bears win, as the magic number is now 1. So for all you Bears fans, it's either a Minnesota loss or a Chicago win, and the Bears are in the NFC playoffs. It would be nice to do it against the Green Bay Packers, who have broken your heart so many different times, but you cannot sleep on that team. Another really interesting matchup, obviously, is the Chargers and Chiefs, too. And this is the craziness that is the NFL. The Chargers could be one of the best teams in the entire league. The Chargers have a chance to win the whole damn thing. They just so happen to play in the division that has the best team in football right now. But like the Chargers up and down can beat anybody. They have talent in every position. And that's the one thing that I think a lot of us in our fandom forget, that this league has so much parity and it goes by week to week. And that's why this matchup against the Green Bay Packers is so interesting if you're a Chicago Bears fan. You would think the Bears are the favorite heading into this game. But there is a sense of, let me let you in at least personally what I think. When I see Bears versus Packers, and it's a huge matchup with a lot of things on the line, the one thing I always go to is a nervousness, is a sense of dread that the bottom's going to fall out. You know, and sometimes people, make jokes that it's the Cub fan in you. But it's what I've seen in history between Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. Now, at any given time, especially in this league like we've been talking about, is anybody can beat anybody. And we've seen this Bears team get got by semi-elected New York Giants, who are a bad team, record-wise, but have talent in every position, and that's how they got you. And mistakes will bury your team. And here's the crazy thing is, the Packers love to eat up on bad mistakes Bears quarterbacks make. And if Trubisky's making the same type of plays he was doing against the Rams, they're going to be in trouble. Divisional games are no joke. There is no gimme. Records don't mean anything. But I do think this is exactly where the Bears kind of want Green Bay. Their defense is on all cylinders. For the most part, they got mostly healthy. You got to see how Mitch does this whole week throughout practice. But it's a very intriguing matchup, and it's a very intriguing week 15. Before we continue on with the show, why don't we take a quick look at the NFL standings? In the AFC East, you have the New England Patriots at 9-4, the Dolphins staying alive after the Miami Miracle at 7-6, the Bills and Jets both at 4-9. In the AFC West, you have the 11-2 Chiefs, the 10-3 Chargers, the 6-7 Broncos, and the 3-10 Oakland Raiders. And again, the 11-2 Chiefs, the 10-3 Chargers. That Thursday night football matchup is literally a heavyweight championship fight. I cannot wait to see how that all breaks down in the AFC West. In the AFC North, you have the 7-5-1 Steelers, the 7-6 Baltimore Ravens, the 5-7-1 Cleveland Browns, who mathematically have not been eliminated from the playoffs yet, and the 5-8 Cincinnati Bengals. Crazy again, Baltimore losing that heartbreaker to Kansas City, and Pittsburgh just laying an egg and losing to the Oakland Raiders at the end of that game as well. It's just unbelievable to see what is going on over there in Pittsburgh. Kind of that weird spiral they're going through, losing 3 straight games. But Baltimore, with Lamar Jackson, there's a lot of talent there. But again, the weapons, he doesn't have all the same weapons. He's a great running quarterback, but I want to see what the full potential is of Lamar Jackson there. So keep an eye in the AFC North. And in the AFC South, it is the 9-4 Texans, the 7-6 Colts, the 7-6 Titans, and the 4-9 Jaguars. Now moving over to the NFC. In the NFC East, it is the surprising Dallas Cowboys at 8-5. The Philadelphia Eagles at 6-7, Washington at 6-7, and the New York Giants at 5-8. In the NFC West, it's the 11-2 Rams, the 8-5 Seattle Seahawks, the 3-10 Arizona Cardinals, and the 3-10 San Francisco 49ers. In the NFC South, it is the 11-2 New Orleans Saints, the 6-7 Carolina Panthers, who the bottom has fell off, and that whole thing has gone red alert, because a 5-game losing streak, and it is just not looking good over there in Carolina. Cam doesn't look good, but Christian McCaffrey is a beast, and watch out for him next fantasy season for all you guys who slept on him. And in the rest of the division, it is Tampa Bay at 5-8 and the Atlanta Falcons at 4-9. Probably the biggest disappointment in the NFL this season. Finally, in the NFC North, it is the 9-4 Chicago Bears, the 6-1 Minnesota Vikings, the 5-7-1 Green Bay Packers, and the 5-8 Detroit Lions. That was your look at what was Week 14 in the NFL, what's coming up at Week 15, and your look at the NFL standings. Let us know, how did your favorite team do this week in the NFL? What is your favorite matchup coming up this week? And of course, how'd your fantasy team do? It was the fantasy playoffs. Did your team give you a dud, or are you moving on to the next round? Let us know all over social media. I'm on Twitter at mmercado2333. You can follow the network on Twitter at Mercado Airwaves. I'm on Instagram, instagram.com/MikeMercado2333. You can like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333, and leave a comment down below. Do us a huge favor, like, rate, review, and share us anywhere you get your favorite podcast at Mercado Airwaves. You get our interviews ad-free, and before anybody else, just visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. And of course, a huge thank you to Munch Art Design for powering us here on the network. We got a lot more here on Sports from the Couch on the Mercado Airwaves Network. I'm Mike Mercado.
What's up, friends? Mike here from Mercado Airwaves. If you missed any one of our past interviews with amazing guests like future Hall of Famer and pound for pound best fighter in the world, UFC flyweight champion Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson,
It's another day at the operator to go out there and test my skill.
to award-winning producer, director, and actor Orlando Jones,
Orlando, how you doing,
How you,
buddy?
sir? I'm good, brother. How you doing?
and all the other interesting guests we've had on. Joining us today is director and writer David Ferrier.
Thanks so much, brother. I appreciate you having me on the show.
MMA legend Chael Sonnen joins us today.
Keep listening to your show. This is great. Thanks, my friend.
Just subscribe to us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. And while you're there, please like, review, and rate us, friends. It helps so much. We also have a Patreon for anyone who would like to support the show. Just visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves and see how you can get all of our interviews ad-free and before anyone else, and how you can get your business or company spotlighted on the show. Follow us on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. And if you would like to see what we're up to behind the scenes, follow us on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Thanks for listening and all the support.
If you would like to support Mercado Airwaves, visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Find us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. Keep up to date with the show on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. You can see all of Nicole's work at typingwhentipsy.wordpress.com. You can follow Alex on Twitter at Mercado21Alex. Follow Mike on Twitter at mmercado2333 and on Instagram, MikeMercado2333.
So, Bulls fans, just when you think things couldn't get any worse with this team, just when you think it couldn't get any more embarrassing by this team, just when you think a 56-point loss to the Boston Celtics isn't bad enough, the Chicago Bulls are now amidst this crazy story between the roster and not interim head coach Jim Boylen. So it's been reported, and it's no secret that Jim Boylen is a sledgehammer. He is a tough guy, a gritty guy, an energy guy. Jim Boylen decided that they were going to have a 2-hour practice after 2 straight games, including this 56-point loss to the Boston Celtics, and was there hell to be raised. And Casey Johnson, who's on Twitter, covers the Chicago Bulls at KCJ, breaks it all down. And I'm going to go through it just to give you guys a little bit of idea that how everything kind of broke down, okay? So this is coming up from December 8th when the Bulls lost that, on Saturday, December 8th, lost that 56-point loss to the Boston Celtics. They asked Zach LaVine, you don't see 5-man substitutions happen a lot in the league, so Zach LaVine interrupts, no, you don't. When asked Boylen, some of them is saving them. Maybe this is about honoring the game and doing the right thing. I worked for Greg Popovich. He subbed 5 guys a ton of times. Nobody says a word to him about it. And we'll get to the whole Greg Popovich thing in just a second. But in case, I get really heated, you're not Greg Popovich. Show me the rings, okay? Because you hear his name come up a lot. But let's move forward a little bit from this debacle. and how absolutely everything just seems to go down here. This is reported then on December 9th by Casey Johnson, and this is after back-to-back games, including the 56-point loss to Boston. Bulls haven't taken practice court 75 minutes into scheduled practice. The rare practice following a back-to-back set of games and before another game Monday, which they're currently playing right now against the Sacramento Kings as we record, surprised some players. Told this could be more of a team meeting with some film than practice. Then as it kept going, as reported last night, players understood Boylen's first 5-man substitution. Bulls came out flat, new coach sending message, etc. It's the second one that caught some players off guard. Celtics began second half on a mere 5-3 run, and Boylen pulled all 5 starters just 2 minutes and 58 seconds into the half. Remember, KC continues, Boylen said he didn't go back to starters last night because he deemed blowout not winnable, and today's practice would be of more benefit. Team has been meeting for close to 2 hours and hasn't taken the floor. Then it continues. Bulls end up not practicing. Some players are getting shots up individually. 2-hour team meeting. We'll get explanation from Boylen soon. Then we get the rookie. Okay, this is from the rookie, Wendell Carter Jr. Said Bulls had long team meeting. Won't reveal details. Main topic was being direct and honest and told each other how we really felt about each other. This is a rookie. He's been in the league for 25, 30 games. And this team has played with each other for a total of 20 games, and they got to talk about how they feel about each other. All right. Continue. This is Casey Johnson, KCJ Hoops. You can find him on Twitter. Carter said it was player-only meeting at first, then coaching joined, okay? Zach LaVine, I think we just all needed to get on the same page. We need to get a lot out of our chest. What do you need to get out of your chest? Trust me, I'll get to Jim Boylen in a second, but what do these players need to get out of their chest? It's a players' league, right? But you have to be good, and you have to get this off your chest. Casey continues, it's pretty clear players told Boylen they wanted to meet instead of practice. Jim Boylen, we had a productive day. We had a great meeting. I was hoping to have a full team practice, but it didn't happen. The meeting went long. Boylen said there are open lines of communication between him and players. We're still learning each other, he said. Boylen then said who decided no practice. I think it was a communication, a little bit of both. This is what I think it's necessary today. And they felt they needed a voice to talk to. And that's cool. That's good. This is a family thing. This is an open lines of communication. But it was players only. And they were caught off guard 2 different times. They didn't think they were going to practice after back-to-back days and then right before another game. They didn't realize you were going to take them out, embarrassing them twice. It's one thing to send a message when you take out all 5 of your starters. You do it twice. For all you wondering who can't get it, who can't understand it, who can't visualize it, can't empathize with it, or think that these millionaires aren't normal people. Imagine if there was a group email, right? And they called out your department. And then the next time they called you out again in front of the whole company. And this time it's in front of TV, millions of watching, 3rd biggest market. This continues on Casey Johnson's Twitter, KC Johnson, at KCJ Hoop. More from Boylen. We're still learning about each other. I moved over the 18 inches. They're still learning how I want it. There's been a little shock and awe here in the last 7 days, and there's an adjustment to that, and that's okay. Boylen continues, nobody's going to make more mistakes than I do. I have a lot of responsibility and make a lot of decisions. This is not a hobby for me. We're going to keep working and grinding, communicating and hugging and crying and laughing and moving forward. This sounds like a bad movie script about a bad coach. About a stereotypical coach. What is he saying? When you talk about crying and learning and hugging and moving, what does that mean? Are you getting better? Why was this team not prepared heading into the season? You were on the staff. You were right there. You were part of it. Everybody was saying you're the defensive guy on the team. Casey Johnson then tweets, Wendell Carter Jr. on who changed practice plans. We both agreed on something, the players and the coaches. We came to them as men, we talked and told them how we felt, and they responded very well. If coaches didn't respond well, that's where it would have gotten interesting, Casey Johnson tweets. Why is Wendell Carter, a 19, 20-year-old, the voice of the organization right now? You'll understand why this is a little frustrating a little bit, but start putting the pieces together. Of course, somebody who was part of a winning program in Duke, and I don't like Coach Krzyzewski, but at least at the very professional ran program. Why is he the only one that I seem to understand what he's saying? This is then where it gets really interesting. Casey Johnson then tweets after a little bit, per multiple sources, players started a group text exchange debating whether to show up at practice facility today. They ultimately decided to show up and told coaching staff they wanted a players meeting only, which was followed by the meeting with coaches. So, while this is going on, okay, because there's open lines to communications and they're a family and they're going to cry and they're going to, make sure they grow together, there's a secret text message between the players that the coaches and front office know nothing about, debating whether they were going to show up to work. How is this not bigger news? I understand because the Bears won and, they're one of the top tier teams that might win the Super Bowl, but oh my God, any other billion-dollar corporation does this nonsense and people lose their job. Group text exchange. They didn't want to show up to work. Casey Johnson keeps tweeting, per multiple sources, veterans were adamant in group text exchange that teams show up today and have meetings. There were 2 or 3 players advocating not showing up. I wonder who that could be, though. And that's the problem where your organization has ran so bad that now you open up the door for players for speculation for us to say, well, which players are sick of this? Who wants to leave? Who wants to be a part of this? Is it Zach LaVine because he has security? Is it Larry Marketing? Is it Bobby Portis? Is it Chris Dunn? Which, by the way, as I'm recording this, Bobby Portis, Chris Dunn back. Not even a blimp, not even a mention. Nobody's talking about the fact that Larry Marketing had an awesome game against OKC in that 2-game window, those back-to-backs. Because of this, because of how you run your organization. This continues at KCJHoop on Twitter. Also, per several people present at meeting, Boylen met the issue head-on and used meeting as opportunity to build trust with players. You should have done that from the beginning. It's not when you've been hammering professional athletes and treating them like they're high school kids. Like your Coach Carter. At one point in coach-player meeting per sources, Boylen had someone reveal that he merely planned to hold film session and let players get shots up today instead of hard practice. Did that to show players how they need to learn to trust him. They don't need to learn to trust you. You literally talked about communication and you're hammering down and yelling at media, but they need to trust you? Why? And he brings up Coach Popovich all the time. He brings it up later on about this exact subject. Coach Pop would have done it. You're not Coach Pop. Coach Pop has put 2 players into the Hall of Fame, about to be a second player. He's going to put 2 more in the Hall of Fame. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. They say John Paxson and Gar Forman also attended today's second meeting. But why, though? This a lot has to do with that front office to begin with. People think that's a big deal because of him putting that interim title, taking off that interim title from Jim Boylen. It doesn't matter because they're going to get somebody that they're comfortable with, and it hasn't worked. That's the point of all of this. All of this screaming, all of this frustration, not just as a sports fan, but as somebody watching a business being ran, it's incompetence between those two. And that's the thing is, they're smart basketball minds, especially John Paxson. So they'll get some things right. I haven't won anything. And how many times do we need dysfunction like this? Vinny Del Negro, Scott Skiles, Tom Thibodeau, Fred Hoiberg. Jim Boylen's been here for 4 days. Casey Johnson continues to tweet at KCJHoop. Also, Boylen is confident the pushback he's experiencing is from a minority, as previously reported that were 2 or 3 players advocating for not showing up today in group text string. It's not like there's a lot of guys on your team to begin with, though. So even if it's 2, 3, 4, it's a roster of 12. And then this is where it gets interesting. This is earlier on today. Casey Johnson then tweets, following up on this, Larry Marketing and Wendell Carter Jr. also were urging respectful ending. And another opinion considered before agreed upon team meeting and after scuttling talk of no-show was showing up and staging symbolic refusal to take floor. These guys were so upset that they were going to make the effort to show up to the Advocate Center to not practice. What is going on with this organization right now? This was really interesting. Practice after a back-to-back and with 3 games in 4 days has drawn attention, but bigger issues discussed in player-coach management meeting were second 5-man sub and Boylen's browbeating. LaVine addressed latter even with reporters. I don't think the players' toughness should ever be questioned. And that's the thing, too. I don't think you should ever question for their toughness. All these guys are tough. You don't get to this level without being it. But these are professional athletes in the one league where the players run it. The players run the NBA. You don't get to be Gene Hackman and Hoosiers. And you see it with him. This is where it gets so frustrating because it's embarrassing in the rest of the league to bring in free agents. You think Anthony Davis wants to play for Jim Boylan? And then earlier on today, Jim Boylan says, yesterday was a blessing for where we have to go. My job is to push players out of their comfort zone. That's what the Reinsdorfs are paying me for. The Reinsdorfs are paying you to make these guys winners. Push them out of their comfort zone. Why? Why don't you develop a plan for them to exploit what they're great at? That's what good coaches do. And then he has the nerves to get upset at the media about the narrative. It's a narrative that you've given us. Boylan, this is not true. They didn't not want to have practice. They means everybody. This is not true. I don't like that narrative. The truth is we had a couple guys who thought a Sunday practice was excessive after the week we had. They have to trust me that I have to bring them into practice. I'm going to manage their legs. They didn't understand that. So I explained to them that they have to trust me, that I'm going to do what's best for the team. What's best was coming in, being together, and growing. You can tell them that. They're grown men. They're not 13-year-olds. They're not a 7-year-old. These are guys who are going to be here way after you. And let's just say you are the head coach for some reason in the next 5 years. You mean you want to build your trust and confidence off of secrecy? That's not how it works. And again, bringing up Coach Popovich, that's all this man knows how to do. Here's the thing, too. We talk about being trustworthy, and he's talking about it was only going to be about film. Boylan said he originally planned hard practice in wake of Celtics' loss because he was upset we weren't playing well, but changed his mind because he felt meeting was more productive. Also, he said he won't give players practice plan in advance. The man that wants to build trust, and I guess he thinks his players don't, have Twitter or don't listen to the media or radio or podcasts or whatever, said, you have to trust me. We weren't going to have a hard practice. I know your legs. We were going to watch film and you were going to take some shots up. And then 9 hours later says, oh no, I was going to practice them hard because they play like crap. It's embarrassing. You would not see Apple do this. You would not see Microsoft do this. You would not see Disney do this. But you're going to see the Chicago Bulls do that? And this is what's frustrating because it's national. For the longest time, and I love the NBA. This is what's upsetting about it. It's the Chicago Bulls have now become the Sacramento Kings and the New York Knicks when it comes to a joke, a laughingstock in the NBA. What are the storylines right now? Can Golden State win the NBA Finals again? What is LeBron going to do with the Lakers? What's the full potential there? Can Boston win the NBA Finals? Can Kawhi take Toronto to the NBA Finals? Those are the NBA basketball storylines. What's the storylines outside of the court? The Chicago Bulls dysfunction. This is the only organization where you hear about coaches getting into fist fights with the front office. And now you're hearing after 2-3 games, they're revolting against the interim head coach. That's not the interim head coach. Are you kidding me? It's embarrassing. We got more here on Sports from the Couch on the Mercado Airwaves Network. I'm Mike Mercado.
If you would like to support Mercado Airwaves, visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Find us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. Keep up to date with the show on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. You can see all of Nicole's work at typingwhentipsy.wordpress.com. You can follow Alex on Twitter at Mercado21Alex. Follow Mike on Twitter at mmercado2333 and on Instagram, MikeMercado2333.
What's up, friends? Mike here from Mercado Airwaves. If you missed any one of our past interviews with amazing guests like future Hall of Famer and pound for pound best fighter in the world, UFC flyweight champion Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson,
Another day at the operator to go out there and test my skill.
to award-winning producer, director, and actor Orlando Jones,
Orlando, how you doing,
How you,
buddy?
sir? I'm good, brother. How you doing?
and all the other interesting guests we've had on. Joining us today is director and writer David Ferrier.
Thanks so much, brother. I appreciate you having me on the show.
MMA legend Chael Sonnen joins us today.
Keep listening to your show. This is great. Thanks, my friend.
Just subscribe to us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. And while you're there, please like, review, and rate us, friends. It helps so much. We also have a Patreon for anyone who would like to support the show. Just visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves and see how you can get all of our interviews ad-free and before anyone else, and how you can get your business or company spotlighted on the show. Follow us on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. And if you would like to see what we're up to behind the scenes, follow us on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Thanks for listening and all the support.
Alrighty, friends, before we close up shop, there's a few things we need to hit on. We would like to send our condolences to the family of Luis Valbuena and Jose Castillo. Both men lost their lives in a car crash that some are reporting was caused by bandits in Venezuela. Luis Valbuena was a former Cub. Jose Castillo was a ball player in Major League Baseball. So some sad times in base. Send our love out to them, and they're in our thoughts and our prayers. So we want to just take a few moments for in their memory. Thank you very much. Why don't we try to go into some good news? That is news and notes around baseball. The winter meetings are going on right now, and it looks like both Cubs and the White Sox are in a lot of different conversations. But one report from one of the biggest baseball insiders in all of baseball, in Bruce Levine, has been reporting a bunch of different things, and this is just some of them. Sox Executive VP of Baseball Operations, Ken Williams, just told reporters, "We have transitioned from a sell mode to a more aggressive look at the future. The Sox have met with Bryce Harper and appear in on Manny Machado as well." So big stuff coming out of the winter meetings. There is something rumbling between these two teams, between the Cubs and the Sox. I mean, Bruce Levine even brings it up. Both the Cubs and White Sox are silent here so far, meaning they are working hard on free agents and trades with 0 leagues, almost 0. And it's true. It's one of those weird things where we're not hearing, we're hearing what they want us to. But we haven't heard any figures yet. We haven't heard what the team is ballparking it at as how many years or what's the dollar amount that they want to go in on. But if you're the White Sox, right, and this is what we've been saying every time we have Paul on the show, every single episode, whenever this came up, there's no reason why you shouldn't do it now. Start it now. You have Eloy Jimenez coming up in just a little bit. You have Luis Robert. You have talent all over this team. You have pitching that's going to come up. You need to jumpstart it. You need to make your team relevant. I'll tell you this much, as a Cub fan, this is coming from the other side. When the Cubs signed John Lester, that's when you knew the turn had started. That at some point, they were going to make a run. You didn't know how, you didn't know when, but you knew that they were starting that movement. That's what this move is right now. If we find out on the next episode of Sports from the Couch that Bryce Harper or Manny Machado, or both of them, are with the White Sox, I wouldn't be shocked. In fact, I'm counting on the fact that they land one of them. Now, when it comes to the Cubs, there's been these reports saying that they are very much catch struck. There's even one report saying that they don't want to trade Kyle Schwarber, that he's off the table. That's what sources are telling a bunch of insiders. I think this is all a decoy. I think there's no way, if you're the Ricketts family, if you're in this window and your opportunity to win is right now, that you handcuff yourself. You're going to make all this money back. And that's the big thing. This isn't assets. This is money. And I obviously, I can never understand the amount of money the Ricketts are spending or they have to invest. But I would think that the amount of money that you spend right now will come back to you. You will get that investment back. But if I'm either of these teams, I'm in on both of the free agents. And I'm in on Andrew Miller. And I'm in on as many pitching prospects or pitching acquisitions to get in on. If you're the Cubs, you better be talking to the Mets. I mean, you just saw what the Mets did for Cano. So I think there's so much interest going on, and things are just going to get heated up even more. So if there is breaking news, if the White Sox do sign Manny Machado and or Bryce Harper, keep it here to Sports from the Couch. We will definitely break that down. And of course, any big move the Chicago Cubs make as well. And one more thing in the baseball world, news also broke throughout these winter meetings that 2 Chicago legends are in the Hall of Fame, as Harold Baines and Lee Smith will take their place in Cooperstown. Lee Smith saying that he wants to go in as a Cub. Harold will be in as a White Sox, I would assume. But interesting stuff. I mean, I can hate and say Harold Baines probably doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. People make fun of the Baines statue down in the South Side. Even White Sox fans do. But, why not? Longevity means something. And obviously Lee Smith with all those saves. So shout out to them, guys. I'm not going to hate. Chicago radio personalities, that's what we like to do. But you know what? Heck, they're going to make more money off of it. And it's good for their family. You know what? Good on them for that. So once again, just a congratulations and shout out to Lee Smith, Harold Baines, new Hall of Famers, and hopefully new representatives of both the White Sox and the Cubs over in Cooperstown. And lastly, UFC 231 in Toronto this past weekend on pay-per-view was a banger, that's for sure, as Valentina Shevchenko beat Joanna Jędrzejczyk by unanimous decision, becoming the women's flyweight champion. And in the main event, Max Holloway beat Brian Ortega by doctor stoppage after the 4th round, going into the 5th round, retaining his UFC featherweight championship, looking like he will move up to 155. In case you missed it, we actually talked to the former UFC strawweight champion, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, before her fight against Valentina. Even though Valentina won all 5 rounds pretty handily, it was actually a really good technical fight. And it was such a pleasure to see these two women co-main event. And after all this drama and history, they looked really good out there. Valentina looks like she's going to be a monster in that weight class. So I can't wait to see what she does. And Joanna, it's interesting to see if she goes down back to strawweight and to see if there's one more fight with Rose Namajunas. Otherwise, this sport moves by really fast. So we'll see. But in case you missed it, go check out our interview with Joanna in the archives right now. Anywhere you get your favorite podcast at Mercado Airwaves on YouTube, youtube.com/Mike Mercado 2333. Search Mercado Airwaves Network. And, of course, on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. But that'll do it for us, guys, here on Sports from the Couch. I hope you guys enjoyed yourselves. If we have any breaking news from the winter meetings, keep it tuned here to the Mercado Airwaves Network and Sports from the Couch. We will give you all the breaking news as we find out. Keep tuned for any breaking news here in the city of Chicago or any major story in the world of sports. Follow us all over social media. I'm on Twitter at mmercado2333. You can like the network on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Follow the network on Twitter at Mercado Airwaves. I'm on Instagram, instagram.com/Mike Mercado2333. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/Mike Mercado2333. Be part of the conversation and leave a comment down below. Download us, like, rate, review, and share us anywhere you get your favorite podcasts. iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Podbean, wherever it is, at Mercado Airwaves. It really means a lot. We're on Twitch, twitch.tv/Mercado Airwaves Network. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/Mike Mercado2333. Check out our interviews ad-free and before anybody else with athletes and celebrities. Just visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. And of course, a huge thank you to Munch Art Design for powering us here on Mercado Airwaves and Sports from the Couch. Like them on Facebook at Munch Art Design. Thank you to each and every one of you guys. Enjoy the rest of the week. Enjoy all the games. You've been listening to Sports from the Couch on the Mercado Airwaves Network. I'm Mike Mercado.
What's up, friends? Mike here from Mercado Airwaves. If you missed any one of our past interviews with amazing guests like future Hall of Famer and pound for pound best fighter in the world, UFC flyweight champion Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson,
Another day at the operator to go out there and test my skill.
to award-winning producer, director, and actor Orlando Jones,
Orlando, how you doing,
How are
buddy?
you, sir? I'm good, brother. How you doing?
and all the other interesting guests we've had on. Joining us today is director and writer David Ferrier.
Thanks so much, brother. I appreciate you having me on the show.
MMA legend Chael Sonnen joins us today.
Keep listening to your show. This is great. Thanks, my friend.
Just subscribe to us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. And while you're there, please like, review, and rate us, friends. It helps so much. We also have a Patreon for anyone who would like to support the show. Just visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves and see how you can get all of our interviews ad-free and before anyone else, and how you can get your business or company spotlighted on the show. Follow us on Twitter at mmercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/Mike Mercado2333. And if you would like to see what we're up to behind the scenes, follow us on Instagram, Mike Mercado2333. Thanks for listening and all the support.
If you would like to support Mercado Airwaves, visit us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Find us on iTunes at Mercado Airwaves. Keep up to date with the show on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. You can see all of Nicole's work at typingwhentipsy.wordpress.com. You can follow Alex on Twitter at Mercado21Alex. Follow Mike on Twitter